have, Mr. Wade?
I want to say good night, good night, good night to our Belizean people, both at home and abroad. It's always a pleasure to sit in our company, Mr. Leonard Brackett, and we have Mr. Gregory Brackett in the back there, um, queuing up. And as always, it's a very interesting program tonight. We have a little technical difficulty, but we're trying to sort it out. Um, as always, we start our program with a prayer and then a reading. Lux, want to turn that one off, maybe Leonard, that phone or something.
Huh? I just put it on. Yeah. Um, okay, sir. I'll go ahead and bow my head and say the prayer. Divine loving Father, thou who art the creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hands we commend ourselves, our family members, our friends, and loved ones. We pray that thou mayest continue to bless our country of Belize, its people and leadership. We pray that thou mayest bless this country of the United States, its people and leadership as well. And please continue to bless the rest of humanity. Thou knowest the trials and tribulations and travails that we're undergoing. Thou knowest those who are in need of food and clothes and shelter. Please provide for them. And we pray that thou mayest have mercy upon those who are in war zones or areas, who have tornadoes, who have fires, who have hurricanes, volcano, flooding, and all manner of pestilence, coming Father. Please bless our program tonight. We may present a worthy program that is of importance to our Belizean people at home and abroad. And please help us to exercise the gifts and virtues that thou hast bestowed upon us for the well-being of our country. For we ask this mercy in Jesus' name, amen.
Man,
Back to you, Mr. Wade.
thank you, Leonard.
Yes, sir.
Um, I will do a reading from Micah chapter 3, 1 to 10. It reads, and I said, you heads of Jacob and rulers of the house of Israel, is it not for you to know justice?
Mhm.
You who hate the good and love the evil, who tear the skin from off my people and their flesh from their bones, who's there who eat the flesh of my people and flay their skin from off them and break their bones in pieces and chop them up like meat in a pot, like flesh in a claydron. Then they will cry to the Lord, but he will not answer them. He will hide his face from them at that time, because they have made their deeds evil. Thus say the Lord concerning the prophets who lead my people astray, who cries peace when they have something to eat, but declare war against him who puts nothing into their mouth. Therefore, It shall be night to you without vision, and darkness to you without divination. The sun shall go down on the prophet, and the day shall be black over them. The seer shall be disgraced, but the diviners put to shame, and the diviners put to shame. They shall all cover their lips with their, for there is no answer from God. But as for me, I am filled with power, with the Spirit of the Lord, and with justice and might, to declare to Jacob his transgression, and to Israel his sins. His transgression and Israel his sin. Hear this, you heads of the house of Jacob, and rulers of the house of Israel, who detest justice and make crooked all that is straight, who build Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. Its head gives judgment for a bribe. Its priests teach for a price. Its prophets practice divination for money. Yet they lean on the Lord and say, is not the Lord in the midst of us? No disaster shall come upon us. That's my reading from Micah chapter 3, 1 to 10. We have a lot going on. Um, I'll go straight because we want to run a full program. I'll go straight to Mr. Gregory Brackett because he has something very interesting and should be of concern to all Belizeans across this nation and around the world. And I would like for them to, at some point, tune in, listen, see what's going on in your country. And as always, Mr. Gregory Brackett always show and tell. Not pull nothing out of his back pocket and say things that we're not supposed to say. No, it comes from their very own mouth. So I pass it over to Mr. Gregory Brackett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good night to you, the people at home and abroad. We thank you for tuning in to this, our 252nd edition of Belizean's Affair. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to speak specifically about the redistricting that should take place before we go into a general election. The Constitution in Section 90 specifies that each electorate division should be equal or close to be equal. But we have found that our past and present government, through bastardization of our Constitution, has refused to do the redistricting which protects each and every one of us when it comes to equal protection under the law. Now, I would like to go back to the past administration when they were about to have a referendum to go to the ICJ. At that time, the present minister was a part of the opposition, And I want you to hear what he had to say at that time to show the double standards that he now has as the present government, knowing that a redistricting should be done. Let's go to the tape.
Long
We hear now that according to the Vice President of Guatemala, he is claiming that the foreign minister or foreign minister have stated that we will have a referendum in May of this year. Again, I think that the government needs to correct that very quickly, because that is not what has been agreed to. We have made it abundantly clear that the People's United Party will support a referendum only after we have a re-registration exercise. Supposedly, that should take place starting on July of this year. So it would be virtually impossible to have a referendum, well, virtually next month. Maybe the foreign minister misspoke, or the vice president did not really understand what was said to them, but that is an issue between them. Our position is this, that we must have re-registration.
People at home and abroad, you have heard what the present Prime Minister said back then. During the time of the referendum with the past administration, that if they do not do re-registration, they would not take part in the referendum. But here we have him presently trying to stop the redistricting at all costs, which he had said when he won the election that he would have done. Now we have him doing a double standards of trying to avoid the redistricting. With that said, Mr. Wade, before I go to you, I would like to say that we have another party who had filed against the present government. And safe to say to the people at home and abroad, the election cannot be called this coming Friday. Gentlemen, before I go to you for your feedback, let me play the tape.
Must go to the High Court for bail. If staffers in this newsroom had $1 for every time someone told us that elections would be called on such and such a date, well, we could probably afford to present the news commercial free. Right now, though, there is a fever pitch of election speculation, and everyone seems to know the date and when the date will be announced. But we surely don't know, and the only thing we do know is when it won't be announced. And that's Friday, February 7th, at the House meeting. We learned this in a lawyer's letter responding to that Trinidadian attorney we told you about, Anand Ramlogan. He threatened to file an injunction against the government to prevent it from announcing the date of election at Friday's House meeting. Well, Eamon Courtney, the private attorney retained to represent the Attorney General, has written to Ramlogan saying, "You requested clarification and confirmation whether the Prime Minister intends to announce the date for the general election at the next sitting of Parliament. We are instructed to confirm that the Prime Minister will not be announcing the date for the next general election at its next sitting on 7th February 2025, nor will he advise the Governor General to dissolve Parliament on that said date." End quote. So, if not Friday, when? Well, your guess that is as good as ours.
Mr. Wade, I now go to you for your comments, sir.
Uh, I tell you, I have to. There are things that I would like. There are certain things I would like to say, but I refrain myself because as of one of the claimant, I got to refrain myself uh, in what I really want to say, and of course, what I would like to say it will be the truth. But it's so sad to see how this this guy, this Prime Minister of Belize, Johnny Briceño, behaves. And it seems to be that we are the only one that actually show the behavior of this guy, this leader of our country that had sworn on oath on the Bible. He touches that Bible when the Governor General swore him in, like the rest of minions, right? That he sworn to serve and protect and honor our Constitution, not the PUP Constitution, nor the UDP Constitution, the Constitution of Belize. We hear that rumble about Guatemala says this and says that, and he just trying to throw people off, right? And painting himself like, yeah, it's right what he's saying, and he's a good guy. Take you back to 2019, public knowledge concerning redistricting, court, order passed by the court. He did not honor that order, right? His lead attorney, Mr. Amon Courtney, publicly said that we acknowledge that a redistricting is necessary. That's the word the man used. But I could tell the people that after the election, right after the 2020 election, that will be done. 2020. Did it happen, my people? If it would have happened, we would have been where we are now. Now, 2025. Here we are. And this very same man hired top-notch attorney and will be paid for the, it was asked, well, who will pay for this? Oh, well, the people. And these guys, they're bad guys, you know, they're taking me to court. So I have to defend myself. That's what he said publicly. For the record, we are not taking Johnny Briceño to court. We are not. So he lied. And went again publicly, Channel 7. Oh yes, if we get elected, we will do redistricting after we get elected. Didn't come from my mouth, came from his sword. Now, I say this to say because I've always said that nothing that man says, I believe. And he proved himself all the time. Right? So who does that? What kind of a leader just refused to honor the Constitution? Just refused to do the right thing, and he fight the people that is trying to tell him, well, you know, Mr. Man, you need to do the right thing, man. And the right thing is to honor the Constitution of this country. And he's fighting that again, tooth and nail. And sadly, the taxpayers will have to foot the bill to this high-powered attorney, and they're not cheap. Very expensive. So what was the easiest thing for this man to do? I ask you, my people, putting the country through this again, you know, and it's all about greed and power. The last UDP and this, they don't want to give up power. And the Constitution clearly said the country should have equal representation, right? And in all farmmanship is not equal. How can you justify some constituencies that have 2,000 people and 3,000 people to some that have 11,000, 12,000? Where is the fairness? And that is all we are trying to tell this man to do as per the Constitution. What kind of a man just refused to do the right thing? So, Greg, and Leonard, I will not say much more, right? Because, like I say, it's for me. I got to refrain myself. But you know, there, my people. Gregory played something very important there, right? And it has to boil down now. And he played the uh, the the other filing, right? And we see the outcome. Why couldn't they? Why couldn't these people just settle and say, well, we will do redistricting, man, because it's needed and it should be done from 2012. It's from 2012, right? So this two-party system that we have, they show blatantly that they refuse. So, and again, guys, I put my trust in the courts, because they are the defender of our constitution and to uphold the law of this country, right? So that's where I will say no more.
Thank you, Mr. Weird. But as I said before on this platform many nights, we are living in a designer system designed to keep the low class people in poverty. We are dealing with a government who discriminates and has double standard. I have called them out. Had this been ASR BSI, has it been the Lord Ashcroft who has money, they wouldn't have gone down this road because they know what would happen. Then now here we have a foreign attorney from Trinidad and they have the money to back it up. So you see what happened. All of a sudden they reply with an answer. But you, the regular Belizeans, who is trying to hold them accountable, they have no regards for people like you and other people. I go
Amen.
to you, Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Greg. Um, I'm flabbergasted at the idea that it takes a foreign entity or someone who has resource behind them to get the government to yield to the wishes of the people. We're not always that lucky. As a matter of fact, it shouldn't have to be dependent on luck, because that is what we elect our government to do on our behalf. Take care of our Belizean affairs. Not to snub us or to use the treasury and the authority and the powers of the state to create circumstances that minimize or decrease or take away from our rights. That should be across the board. That should be something that the government indulges itself in all the time to facilitate and make sure that our laws and our constitution is upheld and abide by. When they get ready to make all kind of bogus laws in the House and pretend like the Constitution doesn't exist and only what comes out of their head is good enough to be the law of the country, when in most instances they are violating the Constitution itself and they are mistreating us and doing things that they're not supposed to be doing in the first place. Belizeans have gotten too soft, too dependent, too easily bamboozled, and we allow ourselves to be hauled and pulled by these jackals, hyenas, and vultures who claim when election is coming around that they're so squeaky clean and they're so nice and looking after the affairs of the country, when in fact they spent 5 long years refusing to do so. And as soon as an election is coming close, you see how they make excuses for each other and they pat each other on the back, but still we can't get out of them what are the criminal actions that they have done in cabinet that we have to deal with if and when they lose the election, like the former government under the UDP. And we know of many other circumstances under this present PUP that we have been flagging them about. And all they do is take turn on us. And we, the Belizean people, pretend that, well, there's nothing we can do because they are the government. There is something that we can do. Just like how other people could come in and assist us or look after us, we can look after our own business too. We're not invalid. We're not short in our minds, nor are we stupid. And we're not all ignorant and don't care. The fact is that we need to be patriotic. We need to be able to put something forward in order for us to have a country that we are worthy of. These people that we have as government, past and present, as Greg likes to say, they know we need to have somebody elected on election day, so they go about giving out these plate of food and these couple of beers and merrymaking and a few little dollars here and there. And then the people are supposed to owe them their vote or political allegiance for the rest of their life. And after they win the election, they drive past you and they don't even know you. They don't hail. They don't ask if you're all right. They don't ask if they can do anything for you or invite you to their office so they can solve some of your personal problems. That's not the kind of people we have in our governance. And nothing is going to change until we get people like those who are down to earth and serious and willing to do the right thing on behalf of the people. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Greg, you want to continue?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome, sir.
As I said before many nights on this platform, people at home and abroad, the bastardization of our Constitution. And I said, even though we have a one-party government, because the opposition is a no-show, there is a way that the Belizean people can hold its government accountable for our democracy, and that is through our Constitution. When other means has failed, the Constitution of this country is alive and living well. I
Why they attack it so much?
have also said on this platform, quote unquote, that Belize is being run by executive power and our country is not being run the way it should be run per our Constitution, which is separation of powers. But I will go to a tape now that was 2 years ago to hear what this learned gentleman had to say.
The news of Cabinet's intervention is somewhat regrettable because this is not a matter for Cabinet at all. It would amount to executive overreach. We have separation of powers as part of our democratic tradition, as is the tradition in all democratic countries. And the legislature is independent and apart from the executive. The constitutional duty to act in relation to the unconstitutionality of our state of affairs as it relates to Section 90 falls squarely upon the Election Boundaries Commission. And it's the Commission and the Commission alone acting in autonomy that has the duty to inform Parliament of its recommendations. So to have Cabinet issue a public statement is tantamount to overreach. And certainly it's regrettable that they would do so. It shows a clear-cut misapprehension of what the Constitution entails. And this is very sad considering that I believe lawyers are in that body.
Again, people at home and abroad, I have spoken about the bastardization of our Constitution, the overreach that the present government is doing, making informal amendments, not formal ones, and inputting them into our Constitution. Before I go to the next step, Mr. Wade, I want to go to you.
I'll yield to Leonard. Go ahead, Leonard.
Mr. Brackett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, for yielding. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for the privilege to sit with you gentlemen tonight and participate in this program. I'd like to say that just what the learned lawyer stipulated just now is what we have been saying on this program from its inception, from the beginning. If the government have goodwill towards its people, there shouldn't have to be any reason why private citizens have to go find money out of their own pocket to take the government to court to request that the government complies with our constitution, because they are being paid to do that. So they should be doing their job. And if they don't want to do their job, then they need to move on. But what these guys do is they sit in the positions, serve themselves and their cronies and family and friends, and to hell with the rest of the people. Well, presumably because some of the people didn't vote for them. But they're the government of the country, not the government of those who vote for them. Once the election is over with, they have to step to the big plate and share out the food so everybody can get to eat, as compared to what they had said when they wanted to run the last election. Todos ganamos. All of us will win. But who are the us that they were talking about? Not the 68% poverty rate people who used to get a little hands out from the previous government, and then as soon as these guys got into office, they took it away. All because they wanted to raise money to pay Mr. Ashcroft for all the outstanding accounts and debts that they had with him. They also went on and chanced the teachers them doing the same thing, to hustle money. And we are sitting here today on this particular program. And we have said to you, the Belizean people, on more than one occasion in the past, that the government has made agreement with Mr. Ashcroft to give Mr. Ashcroft twice as much money as Mr. Ashcroft was making half of the port when Mr. Ashcroft was running it. He was getting between $12 and $13 million. Currently, the government have a schedule of the next 5 years to pay Mr. Ashcroft an additional $25 million a year. So at every given instance, they're scrambling around to come up with that money before the year is ended. And I don't think they wait until the ending of the year because Mr. Ashcroft wants money early. He understands what getting your money and putting your money and getting your compound interest is all about. So he not wait till the end of the year to collect no money. He can collect the money on the first part of the year, or you want to call back the agreement and say that the government failed. You can keep all the money that the government have already paid and demand that he give him permission again to grab a hold of the port again because the deed is not complied with. That's how these jackals and foreign interests work. They bleed the public. They pay the politicians to make them get their teeth in the public coffers or the public affairs, and then they suck with blood dry like vampires. But they can't do that if we politicians them and leaders don't facilitate them. And why should all leaders facilitate these merchants or these big corporations at the expense of our well-being? Something must be going on. It doesn't lend itself to any logic that our people that we give the privilege to serve us or elect should turn around and use that power against us and in favor of other people who are not contributing to our treasury, paying any taxes, or doing anything beneficial to the country. But I'll yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard.
Welcome, sir.
Another thing I would like to say to Greg, I'll go back to you right now, Greg, is that, the way this guy, Johnny Briceño, the Prime Minister of this country, portray himself, and, you know, and portraying to the nation and the world. He says, well, yes, they want to do it and redistricting, but it's also held back in cabinet, a lying again, right? And held back in the election and boundary and all kinds of excuse. And then it's an expensive venture, too expensive, and they have to find the money for it, and then they got to hire this one and hire that one, and redistricting is a very hard thing to do because then he stammered there, right, to say we have to see which one will go to which minister or which representative, and then and then they have to find people to represent certain people. And if you listen to that man, right, that's an evil guy, right? Very evil. And it's turning this country upside down for one simple thing to do. And it's the right thing to do. And turning this nation upside down. We on this program, Gregory have always said, and Leonard, it's not very hard to do with districting, Mr. Man. Huh? But just say that it is hard for you, Johnny Briceño, to give up your power. It's hard for you, Mr. UDP man, to give up your power, your little minions of constituency you got, Mr. Musa, right? You guys don't want to give up on the power, man. Who want to do that? So if you listen to this man, all of the baby he's having trying to tell us, tell us how hard it is. And his very same PUP attorney, Mr. Marshall, told him from 2012. I guess why, in my humble opinion, why he says it's not hard and it's easy and it's not expensive, and there are people had promised to pay part of it, get consulted freely. And I don't know why he must be said that because it was then a UDP government, right? Exactly. So I was pornographic when this man was talking that way, but I just remember now it was a UDP government. So why don't he come down on board now and tell to the nation the same thing he said in 2012? Why don't he come now in 2025? But their mouths and everything has changed.
So burned.
What kind of people watch through Uno, Mr. Man? You have people who we are not, as for me, I don't know attorney, I don't know nothing about the law. But I have common sense, right? Listening to you talk. And this is my country. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a voter. I'm born here. So now you cannot tell me that I don't have the right to say what I got to say. None of you can do that. Right? So all I ask you, you were stubborn then. Why don't you be the man you are and come and say, Mr. Johnny Briceño, just do the right thing. We can't remember what I said 2012. That the true thing I say, So where you talk, I'm not sure, but listen to me now, man. Right? Make we just honor where I said 2012. And that goes for you too, Mr. unelected guy, the big man in this country, Courtney guy. Right? Because you had said something in 2019 too before that election. But you are going to honor because you are the king, you see, of this country. And all of a sudden now, you're fighting us for the very same thing that you said you was going to honor in 2020, right after the election. What kind of a man you are? Who in their right mind would believe you? Who in their right mind would believe you? But you have a way of turning and twisting things and trying to laugh people. But there are some people you cannot laugh. Okay, Mr. Man? This is my country. I fight for my country. This is my people. I fight for my people. I'm a patriot of this country. and I'll die that way. I'll never sell my country the way you guys do.
Thank you.
Back to you, Greg.
Thank
Sorry,
you, Mr. Wade. I would like to also say this. It's a shame that the Belize Peace Movement could not find an attorney to
in this
represent
country.
them on this matter. It's
Give thanks
also
and praise to the attorney we found,
a good thing.
Gregory. Please,
It's also
announcer.
a good thing that a female attorney had stepped up to the plate to represent the BPM. And I'm
God
saying
bless
this,
her.
I'm saying this to say, and then shortly after, we had another female attorney who was born in the Southern District and is
In my
based
hometown.
in Washington, D.C., has stepped up for this cause, and I want to go to the tape.
It's a case about fundamental democratic rights. Right now, the electoral divisions in Belize are imbalanced, and that undermines the very principle of fair representation, democracy. When some votes count more than others, because of how district lines might be drawn, democracy is compromised. So it's not just a legal issue. I think it's a matter of justice and equal rights. I grew up in Toledo district. I grew up in the PG area. I came to the United States when I was 14, so I have very deep personal ties to Belize. I love Toledo. My family has land there, and that's where my heart is. I think I got involved in this particular case because it's a fight for democracy, and to me, this lawsuit has the potential to correct a deeply unfair system right now. So I couldn't sit on the sidelines because I am trained as a lawyer, and these are my talents and my gifts, and I would like to share those. If I can benefit the place that I feel where my heart is, then I'm going to use my talents for that.
How do you expect your involvement to influence the outcome?
So, I think that my role will help strengthen the case with clear, compelling arguments that expose the injustice of the current system. So really trying to hone in on persuasive legal arguments, strategic legal arguments.
Do you see yourself actually acting as an advocate or only as a legal or technical or strategic advisor?
Probably more like a strategic advisor would be my role. I've not been called to the bar in Belize, although I would like to be at some point. And so I think that probably more on the strategic side.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg, for showing to the nation and the world.
There we
See
go.
where that lady step up from? And for sure, she hasn't and she won't be getting a penny from the taxpayers' money. And you know what you hear what she is defending? You hear what she is defending, right? Good. So I just want to throw that out there, right? Now, and sadly, I would say by now these guys would have got to take some shame, right? But again, they do not have that, right? They don't know what is shame, right? So again, I want to applaud, and in fact, from Toledo, that's my hometown. We come from the same area, right?
Thank
so
you.
That's to show you, right?
Thank you, Mr. Wade. There's a saying that justice delayed is justice served. Here we have now people willing to get involved in the cause after we and Belizean Affairs have been stipulating this nights after nights after nights. Let's go to the other attorney.
Ramlogan wants to compel government to conduct a redistricting exercise before the next general elections. Ramlogan is bringing the action on behalf of 3 registered voters, Jeremy Enriquez, Rudolph Morales, and Jessica Tulsi. In a 14-page pre-action letter addressed to the Attorney General, the Speaker of the House, and the Chairman of the Election and Boundaries Commission, Ramlogan warns the government that it is about to declare the date for a general election, which he says will be illegal because the Briceño administration has refused to carry out a redistricting exercise. That exercise would reapportion the 31 constituencies to bring them into line with the constitutional requirement that electoral divisions should be more or less equal in size. Currently, government has tabled a representation of the People Amendment Bill to reflect suggested changes in the constituencies, but there's been no action to pass it, thus preserving the status quo. Ramlogan writes, should the next election be held based on the existing boundaries, it is liable to be declared invalid and unconstitutional because it breaches Section 90. Ramlogan scolds that this is nothing but a clear and sinister attempt by the government to steal a march on democracy and undermine the Constitution, which is the supreme law of Belize. It is a deliberate attempt to distort, thwart, and frustrate the democratic will of the people of Belize by a process of artificial social engineering that seeks to preserve the existing electoral status quo because it favors the ruling party. This represents a clear and present danger to democracy. It amounts to conduct by the state that is arbitrary, manifestly unfair, and highly irrational. It is deliberate maladministration for an improper purpose and reeks of bad faith. And after the drubbing, Ramlogan concludes that the continuing failure to act on the recommendations made by the Elections and Boundaries Commission could only be for an improper purpose, namely maintain illegal boundaries to engineer an anticipated favorable outcome for the ruling party to the detriment of the Constitution, the rule of law, and the public interest. The present situation is one that is plainly inconsistent with the constitutional prerequisites, and it is therefore inevitable, and it will result in an invalid and unconstitutional election with wasted votes. Ramlogan says if he gets no indication that government intends to conduct a redistricting exercise, he will ask the court for a declaration that it would be illegal and unconstitutional for the Elections and Boundaries Commission and or the state to conduct the next general elections based on the existing electoral boundaries. The ball is now in the government's court because Ramlogan indicates that he plans to commence the claim within weeks, depending on the response he gets from government. We'll take our second.
People at home and abroad, and gentlemen, tonight we learn what the response was as I had played it earlier. Here in Belizean affairs, we always show and tell so you, the people at home and abroad, can stay focused and learn from what we present, what is happening in our country. With
Amen.
that said, I will now like to go to one of the claimants so that you, the people at home and abroad, can hear it for yourself.
We've sent this letter, this pre-action protocol, to those parties in the government of Belize to indicate our intention to file an injunction before elections are called. And so I hand-delivered, we emailed this to them yesterday. I hand-delivered it to their office, and it is well known that by now that we intend to file an injunction of against the election. But also, if the election proceeds, we will also continue to take this to court because it will be an illegal election and it will have to be corrected. this election, if it continues, and I will say to the whole nation, and I want all the organizations to hear that and to get off their seats, to voice their acknowledgement that if such an election is called, it is unconstitutional, it violates the supreme law of Belize, it is legal, and therefore should be declared null and void.
And if such an election is held, you and your attorney would challenge the outcome to overturn, reverse, or negate it, declare it nugatory.
We will take it right through to the highest court if necessary. Because as I say, this is a landmark case. What this is showcasing is that the government of Belize has consistently violated the Constitution, and the government must be called to task, and they must be held accountable that they're not above the law.
There we go, people at home and abroad and gentlemen. The government must be held to task. Seditious activity trying to turn the citizen into sovereign citizen. I go to you, Mr. Wade, for a short comment before I go to Mr. Brackett.
Thank you, Greg. My people, yet again, we see we see people, gaining momentum, and you heard that word. They say enough is enough. Enough is enough. Just to expound, they have held two, or I think three illegal election again are already, right? So they have three other illegal election to answer for too, right? And yet he want to hold another illegal election because nobody breaks this guy or pass UDP. Nobody breaks them, right? So yet you see there are people who say, we have had enough now. Enough is enough. So, let's set, and all we are trying to do is to set things right, the right way, right? We want equal, everybody to be equal. We don't want one constituency to be unequal and the other one to be equal. And no, we want equal, everybody to be equal, have the same voice, have the same everything. That's all we are fighting for, right? And it's not fighting, we are not fighting to gain any nothing, any fame or gain $10 million, or no, it's not about that, right? It's just about, enough is enough, man, and let's do the right thing by people and nation. And I don't see nothing hard in that to do, right? So, thank you for, educating the public there, Greg, and sadly, there's still some of us, right, who see that all these things is okay, right? There's still some of us here at home and abroad and around, and that these guys are doing the right thing. Although in the back of their mind they know they're like Leonard call them crooks and hyenas and vultures, right? But yet there's some of us who hold these people up on high esteem, in high pedals, like they're gods, So I call on these people, man, say enough is enough, and tell your representative that you guys have had enough and you're not going out to vote until you get the re-registration done, right? And it's the right thing to do. So the prime minister had did what he did, and for some reason he backpedaled, right? But he has until November, right, as mandated, right? So man, all that cry that you say it's a hard thing to do and it'll take a very long time. What you said, 2 years, Leonard? Oh, it'll take 2 or 3 years or something. No, Mr. Man, you lie, right? Greg, how long you think that redistricting could be done and for in this country? How long you
Mr.
think that will take?
Mr. Wade,
2 years?
Mr. Wade, I will answer your question shortly, and I will show and tell. Personally, I will say this though. Everybody will see tonight what can be done. Let me go to Mr.
Thank you.
Brackett.
Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Greg. Mr. Chairman, I just want to personally commend you and your colleagues
Thank you.
for stepping up to the plate and affording us the opportunity to have this matter still be alive and persisting long enough to have some new or assisting capabilities to come to the rescue. Because on your own, you would not have probably been able to do it. But as a patriotic person or as patriotic individuals in your group, you have seen it fit to try your
Give
best.
kudos to them. Give them a big, hats off.
You have all seen it fit to try your best. And your best is bearing fruits. So kudos to you and thanks very much on behalf of my country of Belize.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to read something here from the Constitution of Belize, Cap 4, Section 89. That's the section just before Section 90, which is
Go ahead,
always
Leonard. Go
being
ahead.
read and people are always familiar with. Section 89, subsection 1 reads as follows. For the purposes of the election of members of the House of Representatives, Belize shall be divided into 31 electoral divisions, the names and boundaries of which are set out in Schedule 1 to the Representation of the People's Act, Cap 9. So if you have 31 divisions and you have a total of 200 to 225 registered voters, somewhere in that vicinity, it is not difficult to divide that up into 31. Of course, because of the boundaries, in a logical way, you will not necessarily have to end up with all of them being exactly equal. But as close as possible would be good enough.
Exactly.
Not
Exactly.
25% difference or 50% difference. The Constitution mandates. It doesn't ask, it mandates. It's a mandamus. And it doesn't leave it to the Prime Minister to decide whether or not those divisions must be properly done, because it is done under the almost independent criteria of the Election and Boundaries Department, which is almost autonomous unto itself in terms of the prerogative of how to get that job done. And they are being paid year round, 5 days a week, 52 weeks per year, every 5-year cycle. So they can't tell me that they haven't had an opportunity to be able to get that done when it should only take, as per what Greg might tell you in his answer when he does the answer, a couple of months at the most, and probably less than a month, realistically speaking, because all the information is already in the department. They can use the last information that they gathered together for the last tongue board and city council elections. All that data is there available. All the village council information is also there available. So they have valid data that they can work on and use. But some people are comfortable in their division and they don't want it to be disturbed. And then the Prime Minister comes to us and tells us all kinds of shenanigans that, well, it's the fault of the election and boundaries because they have to get their job done right. When he has his representatives on the commission who directs the election and boundary department, what to do on the Prime Minister's behalf.
Thank you.
Just a minute, Mr. Chairman, I'm wrapping up. And then he, the Prime Minister, is Prime Minister of the country, leader of cabinet, and also leader of the PUP party who has the majority, a super majority in House of Representatives. So nothing moves in the House of Representatives without his acquiescence, according to the system that we have. So why is he going to say, oh, it's the fault of the people in the committees? He controls the committees. He's the lead government representative and the lead person that decides what happens and what goes to and what gets voted on and passes through the House of Representatives. So he needs to stop his nonsense and start acting with some sense of contriteness and a little bit of humility. Because every time he opens his mouth and tries to make excuse, all he's doing is telling on himself. Are you back, sir?
Thank you, Leonard. Greg, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. People at home and abroad, I will play a tape to hear what the Prime Minister had to say. In his speech, he said that they were attacking them, the government. But let's hear it from him.
We're not going after them, we're just defending ourselves. We did not go after them, they're coming after us as a government, and we have to defend ourselves. This has been a long, drawn-out process, and we all recognize that it's something that has to be done. Unfortunately, the report that was given to us, and it has been tabled in the House, is still in House Committee. I don't know, it seems that they can't come to an agreement, and we can't force them to do, whatever it is that needs to be done. But we're waiting for that. But at the same time, we have to defend ourselves. In many instances, we don't give it attention, and by the time we put in the proper attention, it's already too late. So we want to ensure that we defend ourselves and to show to the Belizean people that we are trying as best as possibly can to follow the law. I must also remind you that it is the redistricting is not in the hands of the government, it's in the hands of the Elections and Boundaries Commission. And they do their research, they do their list of recommendations, they bring it to us, and we know it's our responsibility to bring it to the House, and we have done that.
People at home
All I
and
gotta do is
abroad,
laugh, guys.
people at home and abroad, and Mr. Chairman, then how come is it that the people, we the people of this country, is attacking him when the Constitution, which is the law of the land, speaks for itself and says what must be done? Mr. Wade, you asked me a question earlier. Let me go back and play a tape when this redistricting first came around and hear what a learned lawyer had to say about it.
If the Supreme Court rules in the favor of the claimants, your client included, what's to happen next in terms of government being able to carry out this exercise on a national scale ahead of the pending elections?
The divisions can be redrawn. There is software, there's GIS software that literally puts the location, you have the address of every voter on a map, and there's softwares that will draw it for you in a fair way, It's not very difficult, and it can be done in time for a general election if somebody wanted to do it. Now, if you want to drag your feet, you could find a million reasons not to do it as well.
One of the excuses or the reasons, if I may, is that it's a costly undertaking.
Well, there you go. You have Lord Ashcroft volunteering to bring in and assist with people to get it done.
Lord Ashcroft, in the eyes of some, is a controversial figure. As much as he may be celebrated and respected in one corner, he is reviled in another. In respect of the current claimants, does he coming on board add or take away to the attention already being given to this matter?
Well, it's already adding with this interview attention to the matter. And what we hope to be able to do is to either support it with good legal arguments and also with the necessary evidence to show what the shortcomings of the existing rules are, that is the extent of the malapportionment of the electoral divisions, and what are the ways of fixing it. There are a number of ways of dealing with it. And when I look at the papers, I don't think any of that is being put forward. Putting that kind of information before the court can only assist the court in arriving at a just conclusion. And that's all this is about. At the end of the day, what people think about Lord Ashcroft or what they don't think about him doesn't really matter. The voters in Belize have a problem in that the way things are set up, the people in Belize, who's a little more than 20% of the voting population, get to elect 42% of the elected representatives. That is unfair. The weight their vote carry is far more than what people in the districts, the votes of people in the districts are worth in terms of electing representatives. The Constitution envisages that the electoral division should be more or less equally drawn. And we are to hold the authorities to that standard. From way back in 2012, after the last election, the formal report from the OS mission, the observer mission, brought this to the attention of the government and the Elections and Boundaries Commission. They've known since 2012 of the malapportionment. Nothing has been done.
So there you go, people at home and abroad, and Mr. Chairman.
One statement, if I could.
Hold on,
Go
Go
ahead, Mr. Brackett. Go ahead, Mr. Brackett.
What this gentleman just said just now, that the people that our government should have known from 2012, when a report was given to them by the elections observers, is true. But I can testify on my own, with my own mouth, that from 1996, I turned in the first report that told them that those numbers weren't adding up and that they needed to address the issue of Section 90. And since then until today's date, every time there's a general election, when I do my predictions, there's always 2 extra pages in there demanding or making that same demand. So it's not that they haven't known. From when Ms. Palacio was the head of the Election and Boundaries Division. Anybody can remember how long ago that was? I went up into her office and discussed that matter with her, showed them how my computer system and my programming could have assisted them to call the elections earlier than they were doing because they were making their calculations manually. When in fact, everything could have been done computerized. And I volunteered the information to them. I gave them a copy of how to get the stuff done. When the president, the young lady, I'm trying to remember her name.
Mr. Mai.
Mr. Mai.
Josephine Tamai.
Yeah, when she got the office, I went up there too on a few occasions when I was looking for information, and I made the same proposals and gave them the same information. It's not costly. It doesn't cost them a penny. They were getting it for free. They just don't want to do what needs to be done. And that's the end of the story. There's no two ways
Thank
about
you.
it.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome,
Leonard.
sir.
Thank you, Greg. When I first did my presentation on the first tape, this is the guy I was talking about, and this is what I said he said. And I go on to also say that, um, back then when he was making that interview, it was the UDP in power, right? So he was talking in behalf of the PUP that UDP was doing bad, and they don't. They're here. You use the word dragging their feet, right? Dragging their feet. So I asked him now today, what do you think Briceño is doing and the People's United Party, right? And I'll say no more. Go. You want to do another tape there,
Thank
Greg? Go
you,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and people at home and abroad, the redistricting can be done in a week, maybe 2 weeks. I can personally say this, that I can sit at home and do the whole redistricting of Belize on my computer. But here on Belizean Affairs, we show and tell. So let's not take it from my word, because as the good lawyer Mr. Marshall said, there is a lot of GIS software out there that can do it. It is easy, and anyone with knowledge of computer can easily do it, like my cousin was implementing. Let's go to the software. Here is the video.
Maptitude for redistricting works the way you work, has the features you need, is easy to learn and use, and is 100% reliable. This video demonstrates the steps to create a redistricting plan, verify the plan integrity, print a district map, and create reports about the plan. The Plan Manager serves as your redistricting control center. Use it to organize plans, create any number of plan types, and save them as plan templates. To create a new plan, click New, then choose whether to create the districts interactively with a map or from a district table, district layer, template, point layer, or plan. In this demo, I'm going to create the districts interactively, so I can go ahead and click Next. I'll choose one of the hierarchical maps included with Maptitude for Redistricting and click Open. When you create a plan in Maptitude for Redistricting, you will designate a base layer for your plan, the population or other field to use to balance the districts, the number of districts, and compute the ideal value for each district. Click this button to add additional summary fields to the plan. You can include any number of data fields, and, if necessary, you can set the correct denominator for any summary fields. For example, to get the correct percentages for the age 18 plus fields, you would want to divide by the 18 plus voting age population. Here you can add additional information such as the plan type, administrator, and other comments. Finally, enter a name for the file to which you will save the plan. Once you've specified the plan settings, you're ready to start redistricting. At the top of the screen is the district's data view containing information about the control field and summary fields for each district. Since I have not yet created any districts, the data view has only one row, and that lists the values for the unassigned features. The redistricting toolbox contains the tools that you will use to add and modify districts. And the pending changes data view displays the changes to the control and summary fields as you select areas with the tools in the redistricting toolbox. So, for example, I could start creating a new district by choosing New District as the target, and then use the selection layer to select the base layer census block features that I want to be in the new district. The pending changes data view shows the changes to the districts as you choose geographic features. So for example, here's the population in my district so far, and the percent deviation from the ideal value. Continue to add features until the ideal value is reached. When you get close, you may want to zoom in and add features at a smaller geographic level, such as voting districts, tracts, block groups, or even individual blocks. Once you have selected the features to be added to the target district, you can save the changes and create the district. I missed this one block, so I'll go ahead and select it and save the change to add it to my District 1. I'll click this button to show the entire district in the map. Notice that the map shows the boundary of the new district, the label shows the district name and percent deviation, and the district's data view now shows the values for all the summary fields in that district. Create additional new districts by choosing New District as the target, choosing Unassigned Blocks as the source, and using the selection tools to select the features to add until your plan is complete. When your plan is complete, you can have Maptitude for Redistricting check for errors. For example, by choosing Redistricting, Plan Integrity, Find Unassigned Areas, Maptitude for Redistricting will find any unassigned areas and let you zoom to problem areas. These blocks need to be assigned to a district. Choose which target district the block should belong to, select them, and save the changes. And you can see that if I rerun the test, there are no longer any unassigned areas. I can also run a test for non-contiguous areas by choosing Redistricting, Plan Integrity, Find Non-Contiguous Areas. Click on the smaller area and zoom to it. This portion of District 7 is not contiguous with the rest of the district, so I will move it to District 8. And again, if I refresh, you can see there are no longer any non-contiguous districts. Once your plan is complete, you can create layouts of the districts. These layouts can be printed on any installed printer. You can also create many reports about the plan, such as population summaries, measures of compactness, and partisan competitiveness reports. For example, here is a population summary report for my districts. And here is a measures of compactness report for my districts. To learn more about Maptitude for Redistricting, please visit www.redistricting.com or www.caliper.com or contact Caliper Sales at 617-527-4700. Maptitude.
There you go, Mr. Chairman. It
Thank
can
you.
be simply done if they want to do it. Now, I am not a professional when it comes to it, but you can use the software, get the register voted in every constituency, and the software will totally place them in order for you with the district. As simple as that.
See, guys?
Sir, I go to you.
You see, guys? I thank you, Greg, and I just hope that the nation, you know, learn something and see the difference what we present here and what these people are saying. Like, for instance, your prime minister, okay? Now, do you believe us now when we say the man is a liar, a cheater, a bamboozler, and a power hungry, and do anything to get what he wants in any which way to get what he wants instead of doing the right thing? What is so hard? You see that baby I told you that he has all the time, and that baby he says that when Glenn played that tape, that baby he was having before, oh, it's a hard thing to do. My people, say no more. These are your leaders, my people. He is your leader. He is the number one man in this country, right? And that's the message he sends to the nation and the world. Go to you, Leonard. Your mic is off, Leonard. Your mic is off. Three minutes. It's still off, Leonard. Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah.
Take 3 minutes, Leonard, for your
Thank you.
closing here.
The software that you presented just now, Greg, is a little bit more sophisticated. Well, not a little bit, a lot more sophisticated than the one that I was introducing those people to and trying to get them to use. Because at the time, like I said, they were just waiting for each area to make their hand calculations before they send in the final information to the election and boundaries headquarters, and then they go and double check their hand. They used to type with their hand calculator the numbers and add them up and try to fit them in and fix them up. So I was trying to bring them up to a little higher standard, And I'm saying that the software you just presented does a lot more. And as a matter of fact, it does a lot more than what you just presented just now. As a matter of fact, what you presented was just for basic information purposes. But the software is capable of a lot more report generation, statistical analysis, and all kind of that. But let me get out of that. I want to say that the Prime Minister doesn't know what he's talking about when he says that it's going to take so much time to do and that they don't have enough time left to get it done and a whole lot of... What he's doing is trying to justify his negligence. He knew that the matter needed to be attended to, and he campaigned on it before they got elected. Now he's coming with his nonsense saying, okay, well, it's almost the end of their term, and they don't think they have any more time left between now and November to get the stuff properly done. So he's proposing that if, big if, very heavy if they win the election that's coming up, then maybe 2 years after that, then they might have an opportunity to try and get it done. Some people are now stipulating that they should wait till the census is done and then use the census data. They can revisit that when the census is done, because like we're showing and telling, it doesn't take more than one person to run the computer. But let's say they have 3 people to run the computer, one senior engineer that makes sure that everything is running correct and done right, and 2 runners who can provide the information to that technician.
2 more minutes there, Leonard.
Who gonna go? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Those 2 runners will go and retrieve the database from the different computers and or from the different volumes of, however they retrieve them now or where they store them. I know that they store them on computer because I used to get computer disks from them with all that information, which is what used to facilitate me being able to do what I do, the way I do it. So the Prime Minister doesn't know what he's talking about, but he's disingenuous because he just doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to have some average citizens pounce on him and demand that he does his job that he's being paid for. So instead, he will go and take money out of the treasury, hire two powerful law firm, one that has probably about 12 different members in there, and the other one have about 7 or 8 members, to fight you guys because he's claiming that, well, he have to fight you guys because you guys are coming at him. He shouldn't have to fight back. All he has to do is do his job that he's being paid for. Simple as that. And stop playing game.
Thank you.
All of us out here are not stupid. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leonard. Thank you very much. Thank you. Another, like telling this man, hey man, do the right thing, man. Do the right thing and stop, drag this process on and on and on and on, man. You're killing the taxpayers and you're killing, the country is looking bad, right? Greg, go to you, Greg, for your closing, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight's show, I hope that what we have presented will enlighten you, the Belizean people at home and abroad.
Hope so.
I want to say that politically, I am not with blue or red. I vote for a government who I believe can serve the people of the country. But I also want to say that I have the right as an elector to hold my government accountable to make sure he does what he is supposed to do. Likewise, I will always praise them when they do good. But again, I will say this, Mr. Chairman. Redistricting can be done even simpler by a Google site plan. The same way you go to the land department and you go and get a site plan of where your house is, where your property line is. So it's not that it cannot be done. A simple software, Google site plan, can also do it because you can get the site plan and you can just use a simple pencil and mark the area north or south and let the lesser territory, the lesser constituency, fall within the bigger constituency. Because we all know we have the registered names of voters living in those areas. I go back to you, sir.
Thank you. See, people, we just presented to you how the thing could get done, and we presented to you how then they bamboozle us, how then they lie to us, right? With the show, no, right here on Belizean Affairs show number 252. Huh? And my people, both at home and abroad, we know they lie, right? We know they lie to the Belizean people or the nation, right? But we here, we just plain no like to see what's happening, and we just show them what they do to us, right? And how they could remedy it. We're better than that, Greg. Did we charge them for that information? Hey, Leonard? Greg?
No,
Greg, do you have a bill for them? For Mr. Mai, election and Bowdy and Johnny Briseno? Greg, do you have a bill?
I think we should send them one.
No, sir.
Mr. Wade. Mr. Wade, I think we should send them one. Because I know the law is going to send them a big one. Over $200,000 worth of legal services.
So,
guys, give us at least 5 cents each.
I want to thank you, Greg, for for always, do the technical thing there and show and tell, And it's always a pleasure to sit in your company, Leonard. And I want to give a special thank you, guys, show our medium to the attorneys, Greg, both at home and abroad, that is facilitating us and showing to the Belizean people what the wrong that they are doing. And then not the talk bring out nothing out of them back pocket. No, then they say as per the constitution of this land. Right? And equal representation and justice for all. Justice. Huh? So, I want to thank them. And I call through our medium, I call on outside entity, especially Greg and Leonard, the ones that come and oversee elections. I call on them to do not come to Belize. Those who come to oversee free and fair election, do not come to Belize. Because right now, it's not free and fair. Please come when, in fact, I even urge you to send a message to Johnny Briceño and the People's United Party to do the redistricting so that equal representation can be had as per the Constitution. Then we will come here to Belize and see free and fair election. The same way Uno did to Maduro, Uno denounced that election that he won, but it wasn't free and fair. If you come to one of those, I would like for you to do the same thing to Johnny Briceño and denounce the next election if he holds it before he does the redistricting, right? So I urge an outside entity to keep, because this will be a landmark and it will be a ripple effect around the world, right? So I call on these entities to just tell this man, please do the right thing for your country of Belize. And again, I want to thank Greg again, Leonard. I want to thank the attorneys who are seeing this through. And again, I want to inform the taxpayers of this country, not one single penny will come out of your taxpayer dollar, okay, to pay the attorneys to tell your Belizean government to do the right thing. For you, the people, right? Who does that? Everybody should be clapping, right, Leonard and Greg? Everybody should be clapping for those people who's fighting for you. Not even live here, some of them. Not even live here. But they feel your pain. And they see the injustice that past and present two-party system have you in bondage. Bondage. As they control it. They don't want to let go of the strings so they're not controlling no more. Right? So, but anyway, it's always a pleasure and time is always of an essence. My people, the Belizean peace movement will be on the ballot whenever this man calls the election. Please, we will be the only change in this country. Support us. We'll do the right thing. Belizean justice movement will be on the ballot. The only change. Support us, and you will get what you rightfully deserve. And on that note, I want to thank you again, Leonard, and thank you again, Greg, for showing and telling. And to our viewers and those who watch us, thank you. Those who text in, thank you. We are only fighting for our nation, guys, right? We're only fighting for the poor and less fortunate, the forgotten, right? So if we don't appreciate that, well, but we'll keep doing what we're doing. And again, thanks, guys, for being steadfast in this venture. Thank you. And I say good night to our Belizean people, both at home and abroad. Take it away there, Gregory.